Hello all, it's Lizzie here from That Organic Woman Earth Medicine. Today I am preparing a worm order, that's vermiculture, worms for composting, and also I am preparing a new worm farm, but more on that later. So, how do you count 2,000 worms? Sounds like it's a complex situation. This is the first time that I've done it to prepare for a 2,000 worm order, which is 500 grams approximate weight. So far, this is where I've got to. I have, from my main worm farm bath, I have pulled or lifted quite a bit of the compost material and moved off the cardboard and so forth. I don't know whether you can see much of this, but it's very difficult. I don't have a brilliant focusing thing, but there's a nice big one. I hope this is getting focus enough. But I've dug up a whole handfuls of that out of my worm bath, my farm, which is already featured on a video and photos 6 months ago. So, how do you count 2,000 worms? Basically, the way, there's a couple of little tricks on how to do it. Basically, put your pile and brush away the edges. Brush away the edges of a mound. Now I've actually been going through this particular stuff here and picking out whatever little worms I can see. There's a lot of wormings in this mix. There's a little, I don't know whether you can see him, but there's movement. There's only little, and then I've been putting them all into here. Now that absolutely looks like there's possibly nothing in there, but I guarantee you there's already over 500 worms in here. Tiny tinies to big ones. Let me see if I can find, there's a bit, look, there you go, there's a, I hope that's coming into focus. There's a beautiful big tiger in here. Where is he? Is that you? Yes, that's him. When he stretches out, he has stripes, hence they call it a tiger compost worm. Oh, he's even got a little baby on top of him. I really do hope this is coming out in focus. It doesn't look like it is, but anyway, so that's where I'm putting them. And with this particular sorted, roughly sifted, because it's not actually sifting, is it? Mix. Now there's a tiny, 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 tiny. In he goes. I then put this particular lot over into here. Now there are minuscule babies that do get left behind. So if I can find them in here, I will. And I'll be going into here. Here's a tiny baby. So what's actually going to happen when I've completed this pile and it's all into this box, it's going to be part of my new addition of worms to the do-it-yourself, cheaper than chips, miniature home worm farm. And I followed Jeremiah from a Gardening Australia episode on how to make your own worm farm on the cheap, and he used polystyrene boxes. So these are not easy to come by nowadays, I can tell you that. Polystyrene box, that's my base. That is going to hold all my worm juice. From there, we place over a piece of garden mesh. Now I think I will eventually have to take this down to keep it taut and tight. Then you have 2 extra polystyrene boxes. Now where those blue holes are, there are 8. I'm going to cut them out. I won't be able to do this one-handed or not. It'll take some time, and I'm not yet... my son promised me a GoPro whereby I could stop recording and then continue on. So we've got to get that one organised. But that's generally what's going to be, 8 holes as such. Then that goes over and onto this one. In this particular box, I will put a cocoa peat block that I have moistened. Okay, that will be my new Worm Farms feed and home bedding. Plus, this is very, very well composted horse manure. And I also will shred up a whole heap of paper and cardboard. Those particular things I will take photographs. Will all go into this box, and I will put my babies in, my worm babies, Indian blues, reds, tiger. I can't remember the others at the moment. Get back to you on that one. There's 5 species that I've got. I will do the same. Well, that's actually it. That's all that's necessary for this beginning stages. There will be a lid, which I currently don't have out here, which will go over the top. There'll be on top of the worms, the horse manure, the cocoa peat, the ripped up newspaper and cardboard. I will place a carpet. Some people say to use hessian. You can buy all these things, but trust me, why spend that money when you've got the items around your house, and you can find alternative repurposing materials. So essentially this is a permaculture exercise, because I am repurposing polystyrene boxes, repurposing garden mesh, repurposing horse manure. The cocoa peat block I have actually purchased, about $2.49, and of course newspaper shredded and cardboard shredded. Here's some cardboards here, and I do have oodles of carpet pieces around the yard. They will all be repurposed. The lid will then go on, and I'll let my worms settle in, and they will start to do their thing, compost whatever food substances are in there. After about a week, I will start to feed them food scraps and other tiny bits of bark, crushed up eggshells, which is a source of calcium. The calcium actually encourages worms to lay eggs. In 3 months' time, I will have doubled my population of the worms, and then it will be time to harvest the worm castings. what will happen after that point, when this is basically all full and done, I'd simply put on the new box, which would have the holes in it. More holes in here. There'd be 8. Bearing in mind this would be all full. The worms, I'd put a layer of food and stuff in here, and the worms will start to migrate up and into this box. And after a period of a week or 2 maybe, especially if I've put in really delicious food for them to come and seek out, which they will, I will then remove the bottom box, which will be vermicast, delicious compost for my soils and my plants and my seedlings, and put the new feeder box on. Okay, now of course by that time, when I've added a bit of water, keep them moist, and the worms have done their jobs, this will be full of worm juice. Okay, so you can't see any of it yet, but this is the very beginning stages. Hence, that's what the mesh is there for, to stop any of my babies from falling through into the worm juice, eventual worm juice, and drowning. No tap on this one. It will simply be a matter of either change the box when it's full and scoop and jug the worm juice. It does have a specific name, I'll get back to you on that one. And use that for fertilisation and nourishment for my plants, seedlings, trees, compost, you name it. Now, some might be thinking, why polystyrene? Well, polystyrene is not plastic. Polystyrene is actually, it will decompose, but polystyrene is an excellent insulator for worms, for a worm farm. The temperatures don't go too high and the temperatures don't go too low. It has excellent insulating properties. Okay. Now, as I said, this particular little project, I have followed exactly what Jeremy from Gardening Australia did. So you can easily Google that. It's on YouTube. Type in those keywords, Gardening Australia, build a worm farm, Jeremy, and that should take you to it. I'll probably put that one up in a comment section, the precise wording and link to take you straight through it. I'm just documenting my copying of exactly what he's done. My second mini worm farm. So as I said, this is the first time I've had to sift and begin my worm counts for sale of compost worms. The principle here is, as I'm brushing out the outer edges, that exposes this central pile to light. Worms don't like light. They will say, run away, run away, and they will maneuver themselves into the central pile. Now, as I said, when I'm brushing away, I do find little baby ones, which I collect. I don't know if it's going to be focused or not, I said that. But if I show you quickly here, if I lift this top bunch off, already look at them. Can you see them? Lord, I hope so. Already. They are in a mess. Okay, and that's the way to harvest them. Keep sweeping away. They'll retreat from the light. Can we see that? Look at them all. So they're really, really big. And into my bucket. I have to be careful when I'm, rubbing my fingers, because there's little babies that are on them. Here's another little one. Here's one there. There's some rotting leaf. And even further again, look. I hope this is visible. Okay. I'm going to cheat. Oh, there's a tiger. I can get him out to show you. Slowly learning the identification process. Now, I can't see his stripes well enough. And another little mass. Oh Lord, I hope this is so visible. And that mass, in it goes. This mass. Worms. But that's what you do. So I'm going to... Oh, tiger there. Oh, he's active. He's active. Night crawlers. That's another one. Another species that I've got. Indian blues, reds, night crawlers, tiger, and one more at the moment. So they'll amass into the centre of this pile, and I will just keep on brushing away the edge, brushing away the edges, sort and sift, pull out whatever little babies I see, and into this container in preparation for my 2,000 worms. Believe me, it sounds a lot. It is a long job, but it won't take long to get to 2,000. Not when you count the minuscule, tiny little babies. And I know there are eggs in here. Okay, so that is my first worm order for vermiculture. And in the same process, this pile into here, which I know there's worm eggs and already baby ones that I've missed, will be the starter for my new simple, cheap, effective worm farm, mini worm farm. Okay, I'll take photographs as I've gone along. I'm working on this one, and you'll be able to see it. But its eventual home will be here on this tiny little tabletop. Should come up to about here, not so high, I don't know, I can't see if I can see that. Yeah, look, it's going to come up close to 1 metre. But it's right beside the main bathtub farm. So when I come out to tend to these babies and feed them, I'll do the same with the other. And slowly I'll just keep building and building and building my worm farm. That's all for now, I believe. Oh yes, shade. Your worm farms have to be in shade. No direct bright sunlight, away from the harsh cold and the winds, although I do have a huge piece of carpet that goes over this, over the bathtub. And keeps them cool, happy, in a basic set temperature environment, enough for them to procreate, break down the foodstuffs, paper, shredded, cardboard. The one thing you don't feed them is oranges, anything citrus. You do not feed them straight seaweed from the beach. Someone else did a documented project with 4 groups in a scientific manner, and no, none of the worms survived after his project was complete, after say something like 12 weeks, whereby the seaweed was fed direct. So we eat no seaweed. Nothing from the onion, allium, garlic family. No meat, no dairy. That tends to attract what they call vinegar flies, and it also can sour your worm compost. Okay, and it can make them sickly and not at their best health. So that was citrus, onions, alliums, garlics, seaweeds, meat, dairy, and you do need to chop up the foodstuffs relatively small, because worms don't have mouths or big teeth or big mouths, so the smaller the better. And the other thing I've found that they like is the corrugated cardboard. This they can use for little homes. They can sort of crawl into there. There's nothing in there at the moment. Oh, there's a little one. There's a couple in there. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 3 little babies there. And that's their food as well, cardboard. But they love these corrugations in cardboard. Essentially, this is normally covered entirely by cardboard, which I will put another layer down, a whole new layer. And then, of course, my big carpet piece over top. Protection, keep it all dark. So, there are many, many websites and links on the web for you to study and learn about various tricks and lurks and perks that people do with their worm farms. As of this point, this is where I'm at. I did document the very setting up of this particular bathtub and how we did it. We followed Jeff Lawton's from Permaculture Research Institute. We followed his video and did it word for word, T to T, so to speak. As is my next mini worm farm, which will be the polystyrene boxes, and that was from Jeremy off Gardening Australia. Okay, so I'll leave it there for now. As I said, Lizzie from That Organic Woman, and you'll see the photos as I keep working along in the stages of the worm counting for my order, and as I work on the and complete the polystyrene worm farm. Bye for now.